Hey guys, and welcome back to the Leah Heilpan show. So the market is dumping. Crypto is it's not looking good, guys, you know. So I want to talk about it and I want to figure out what is coming next, you know. Should we be buying the dip? Should we not be buying the dip? Should we be selling for a loss? Are we holding to zero? Like what's the game plan, you know? So joining me to discuss all of this, we have Aaron Arnold from the one and only Altcoin Daily. Aaron, what's up?
Leah, the market's crashing. I'm thinking I might have to switch to red pill content. What should I do?
Oh my God. I think you should switch to that content. I think you
Yeah,
should.
it's about time maybe. But like Leah, how are you holding up? I mean, the market is dipping. Are you okay?
How am I feeling? Thank you for asking me that. Do you know what? I'm doing all right, I have to say. I don't know if you've seen, but I have been making videos for a while about the importance of taking profit. And I got a lot of hate for that. I think I started doing this in like July. And I was talking about, you know, you've got to take profit. We're not going up forever. And we'll go into more details about this, but like we've been in a bull run, in my opinion, for like nearly 3 years. So I'm doing all right. Like I slowly scaled out and I told everyone that that's what I was doing. Um, and here we are. Bitcoin is barely holding on to $86,000. How are you feeling? How are you doing right now?
I am doing good. This pullback, it's surprising in some ways and not surprising in some ways because, 30% corrections are par for the course. This is our third 30% correction this cycle. Last cycle, we at least had two. They were a little deeper. And then in the 2017 cycle, we had like 5 or 6 30% corrections. So, it's par for the course in some ways. There's, reasons to be bullish in some ways, but there's certainly a bull and a bear case, I think.
Yeah, okay. Let's talk about both cases, okay? I'm going to start with the bear case because I am a bear right now. I've been a bear for a while. I'll hold my hands up and say I could be totally wrong, and that's fine. Like, I'm only human. Maybe I'm wrong. Like, I don't know. The reason I'm a bear is because you mentioned pullbacks are very normal in bull markets, and I agree with you. However, we had that crash. I can't remember. Was it like February, early this year when Bitcoin went to like 80 or like
April, it was like the tariff crash.
yeah, it dropped. It dropped below like 90K, and
Yeah,
that to
February to
me,
April. Yeah.
yeah, it was like February, April. Yeah, I remember because I was at dinner and we were all at dinner like, oh my God, we should have taken profits, and everything was just down.
We should have sold when Trump launched the meme coin. It was so obvious back then, in retrospect.
Literally, no, you're literally right. Those are signs of the top of the cycle. But we had that crash, and even last year in 2024, we also had a lot of crashes. And I feel like we've been in a bull run for nearly 3 years because Bitcoin bottomed at the end of 2022. It then did a 2x early 2023 to 30K. It went from around 15.6 to $30,000 within a few months. And it really was up only from there. And I posted this the other day and people were like, oh, it's not really been up only. Yes, of course, because nothing goes straight up, it ebbs and flows. But the general trend, if you zoom out, was up. We went from 15,000 all the way up to $126,000. That took 3 years, 2023, nearly 3 years, 2023 of Q1. We can't go up forever. Like we've had the bull, we've had the crashes, we've had the local tops. I feel like now's the time to come down slowly. That's just my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Tell me, what's the bull case?
Well, like, first of all, let's just go over some reasons what is causing this drop, because, in a lot of ways, it's nothing, as you know, like fundamentally associated with Bitcoin or
Yes.
crypto. So like there are certain things that are causing this drop that are already in our past, in my mind. And that is, first of all, the largest liquidation event in crypto history, which happened in October. A lot of leverage was flushed out of the system. People who were longing had to like sell, causing the price to dip even harder. But that is now in our past. And of course, that a lot of uncertainty came from that. We're still seeing the after effects, but that's, in our past, just like the government shutdown, the longest US government shutdown in history is in our past. It unfortunately caused a lot of uncertainty and a lack of, spending and a lack of moving forward. Now, with that, Jerome Powell has indicated that a December rate cut isn't a sure thing. And now it looks like it's probably not going to happen. However, we do know that come next year, Trump's going to put in another guy who is going to cut rates. And then just overall, again, why is Bitcoin dropping? It's because of, people calling it Bitcoin's IPO moment, where the whales of the past, Bitcoin was the first asset in history where retail had a 15-year head start on Wall Street. And those OG whales from the past are taking profit, what was above 100K. And it's just all causing some uncertainty. Now, all those things aren't really have any like fundamental, association with the underlying assets. So the bear case, which you were just talking about, is that the 4-year cycle is over. We've been going up for years. The AI bubble might be popping, and just overall market manipulation in a market where the assets have lower market caps. That is something that could be true. I think there's also a bull mindset, and that's that, think forward-looking macros are still good. We still have incoming Wall Street and corporate adoption, and we still have regulatory tailwinds like the market structure bill. And I'd even say that crypto is entering its 1996 moment. And that's in 1996 was when the internet got regulated. The Telecommunications Act of 1996 allowed, just tons of certainty in the market and building in the market. And that's where crypto's at today with the stablecoin bill that just got passed and the market structure bill that is going to be passed soon. So there are tailwinds that, could take us higher. Also understanding that, the Fed will be cutting rates next year 100% when Trump puts his guy in, and a quantitative easing cycle is most likely something that's going to happen. So are we beginning a deep bear market like 2018, like 2022? It's possible, Leia. I've drank the Kool-Aid. I don't think, Bitcoin crypto really didn't expand that much for us to contract so heavily. So I really don't think we're going to see something super deep.
Oh, wow. You are a bit of a bull. I like that. That's cool. You are. That's interesting. But it comes down to whether or not you believe in the 4-year cycles. I think that's what it comes down to. And I do still believe in the 4-year cycles. I think I remember last bull run, 2021, 2022, we were coming towards the end, and there was a lot of bullish sentiment coming out, yet the market kept pulling back. And this just feels the same way, like all this bullish sentiment. Go ahead.
I mean, I feel you. Listen, that is something that is looking more and more likely every minute as we're recording this. I do think that the backdrop is different than it was in 2022. First of all, the crypto market had expanded a lot in 2021, but then 2022 started the biggest tightening and rate hiking squeeze that the government has ever done. Not to mention rampant inflation. And just, today we're going into a cutting period, an easing period. Inflation is still at 3%. However, we have all these regulatory catalysts. So, I mean, the government is opened back up. The big, beautiful bill, Leia, which got passed earlier this year, goes into a more full effect in 2026. That's stimulus, that's economy growth, market structure bill. I think the ETF adoption is going to continue to expand. The US government, Leia, is going to announce they're going to be buying more Bitcoin in a cost-neutral way. And the Fed being dovish. This might be a historic entry point, as Michael Saylor likes to say.
Oh, wow. You're really a super cycle bull.
Well, I can make the argument either way. Obviously, we understand both cases, the bull and the bear case. But yes. In a time where, it'd be a lot easier to come on here and be bearish and say Bitcoin's going to 10K.
No, I don't think it's going to 10K. Listen, here's a thought that I have. Bitcoin, the bull run really took off when the ETFs got approved, right? They got approved and Bitcoin was around $40,000. Yeah. And, these people have already doubled their money. They've done crazy returns within literally 18 months. Incredible to see. But what happens if we get into a scenario where it's these traditional financial investors, they're only used to really getting 10% a year on their money in the stock market. Now they've done, 100% and more, 200, 300, 400% of their money. What happens if they start selling? What happens if, they start selling their ETFs? Because to them, they're used to 10% and now they're getting these massive gains already. Even at these prices, they're still up massively. Right. And as we slowly come down, I see potentially there could be a lot of selling pressure from the ETFs, which pushes the market lower and lower and lower till we get to a point where the bottom is not 10K, but it could be around the price where the ETF got approved, So the bottom could be $40,000. that's kind of a scenario that I really see.
40,000. I don't think it's going to go down that low. I think previous cycles, all-time highs, so 65K would be my bear scenario. I do agree with you, though, that the market is very different from the past, but I would say that the market is more mature, more deep. Now, these institutional buyers who are used to 10%, they do rebalance, but they rebalance often. And, we've kind of seen like it hasn't risen as much, maybe because there's been some rebalancing every quarter, but also some of the people buying these ETFs are, pension funds, just more long-term buyers. So again, dampening the volatility.
So I'm curious, like, are you surprised that this was coming? Because I said at the beginning, just for everyone who's tuning in now, I've been making very loud statements since July that I'm slowly scaling out and slowly taking profit. I wanted to be really honest with everyone about that because I felt like previous cycle, I probably drank the Kool-Aid too much and was too wrapped up in the euphoria. So, this time I wanted to tell everyone this is what I'm doing. And I'm curious, did you take any profits yet or not?
Not really. I've taken some altcoin profits in the past year, but I really haven't taken a lot of Bitcoin and Ethereum profits. And, just personally about me, didn't take as much profits as I would have wanted to in 2021 because the market never got as high as I thought it would. Actually, if the market would have got to the levels we're at right now back in 2021, I would have sold a big tranche at like around 88K.
Yeah.
But and just overall, it is, surprising that I expect this 30% pullback? I kind of expected multiple 30% pullbacks in this bull market, but to see this pullback now in Q4, the end of year, after Harvard announced that they now own more Bitcoin than gold, after the Czech central bank announced they're buying Bitcoin, the first EU central bank to do that. Saudi Arabia central bank buying Bitcoin. State of New Hampshire just launched the first ever Bitcoin bond. Citi, JP Morgan, banks using stablecoins. It is surprising to me that it's happening right now. I didn't sell a lot. And, I do think it's possible we see higher highs, maybe not this year anymore, but next year.
Yeah. No, I get it. I appreciate the honesty. How do you feel about the state of Twitter right now? Because when I was making all of these comments about, I'm slowly scaling out, I just want to let everyone know what I'm doing. That's just like, you can do it. If you could listen if you want, you don't have to, it's all good, but this is what I'm doing.
They laughed at you, but who's laughing?
They laughed at me. They called me such terrible names. They didn't just laugh at me, like it was very aggressive, and it's really interesting because when I say I don't think, we're going any higher from here, people take it very personally. They feel like I'm like stopping their gains, which in some ways is really cool. Like they think I have that much power to like manipulate the markets with my words. Like that's really cool, but obviously I can't do that. They think I'm like Elon Musk or something by like, I'm joking, but right. You know what I mean? But yeah, so much hate. And even now on Twitter, there's so much hate. Everyone's taking screenshots of like different people's predictions and so you said this and you said this. Like, what's your take on how everyone's behaving right now?
I mean, crypto Twitter is, again, certainly different from past cycles. The Bitcoin maxis used to control the conversation on Bitcoin Twitter. Now they're certainly fractured. And, crypto in general is just so, so many different verticals, whether it's, Wall Street or gaming or Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever it is. It's kind of a crypto Twitter is more fractured than it has ever been, but I think that's healthy. I see it in the comments for sure. Just people super angry. Important to note that anybody who's been scaling into Bitcoin and Ethereum for years is still way up, and
for it was sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so we present all sides on Altcoin Daily. We talk to an audience of 3.5 million people across multiple social platforms, mostly on YouTube and Twitter. And there's people who got into the cycle, with us years ago, who are doing well, who might be taking profits. There's people who are just coming into the cycle now, and it's personal finance is personal for a reason. It makes sense you're taking profits. Some people who are just jumping in now, obviously, this dip is an opportunity if you believe in the long-term viability.
I do believe in it. And for me personally, my goal is to get back in, obviously. But I always feel, and I wonder if you feel this as well, I'm not sure, I feel like a bit of responsibility, like that's why I felt like I didn't want to be too much of a bull. And I wanted to tell people, because I know a lot of people, You know, they say like, oh, it's going up forever. Meanwhile, they're privately selling. So I didn't want to do that, you know, and I do believe in telling people like, for sure, long-term Bitcoin, I think will go to $1 million. I definitely see ETH going to like 10 to 15 to 20K, like 100%.
Whoa.
But I do, you know, I'll hold my hands up, but not now, not right now, you know. Do you feel like that responsibility to like ease people? And I guess like, you know, the idea of like, oh, buy this dip, well, it could keep on dipping for a few years.
I mean, certainly a big responsibility being a crypto content creator, and the bigger you get, the more responsibility you have. You know, the smaller creators, they can say flagrant things, and
oh my God, I know.
You know, nobody really checks them. But you know, the bigger you are, there is a lot of responsibility, and that's, you know, why it's just important to note, you know, personal finance is personal for a reason to you. Make your own decisions. Where I'm at financially isn't necessarily where another person's at. But it's also, you know, important to present, you know, a bull case, a bear case, and different opinions. You know, on our channel, we kind of take a more, when we're reporting on things and covering things and giving our opinion, we like to kind of have like a neutral point of view and say, hey, this person is bearish, says Bitcoin can go to 50K. Tom Lee is bullish. He says it can go to 150K, or whatever it is. There is a lot of responsibility, but you know, content creation is the future. All our kids are going to be content creators. And, you know, I certainly wouldn't say stop making content or anything. Go harder.
No, I mean, you're going to do red pill content, right? That's the goal. That's the bear market goal. I'm joking.
Yeah.
You don't fancy it?
What was that?
You don't fancy doing some like red pill content
you know, in my opinion, like the 4-year cycle, the red pill content is kind of in the past, and we're entering into a new era. But that was fun.
Yeah. No,
it was fun being a viewer. I wanted you to go on Fresh and Fit, but that never happened.
You know, I just couldn't. I didn't see myself as like one of the screaming girls. I couldn't. You know, like I do a one-to-one. Something calm, like something chill like this, but I couldn't.
It wasn't a good environment for a, you know, a smart, classy person like yourself.
Thank you. That's what I was feeling as well, but you know, I just wasn't sure about it. So I have more questions for you. So, you know, this cycle has been really interesting because it's been really about Bitcoin. You know, I felt like the previous cycles, people were making millions overnight with altcoins, right? Like Dot went crazy, ADA. I can't remember because it was so old. Like XRP in the previous cycle, you know, a lot of people made a lot of money. Thank you. Polygon, Matic. Yeah. Like, but we didn't really hear much, you know. BNB, of course, did very well this cycle. Memes did very well. XRP did well, you know, given the lawsuit, and it reclaimed $3 for the first time. But what's your prediction really on crypto moving forward, Bitcoin versus altcoins? Do you think it's really going to be all about Bitcoin like we saw this cycle?
You know what? This cycle has been all about Bitcoin. Yes, I do. There was the meme coin season of 2024 and up until January of 2025. And to me, I mean, 2024 felt much more like a bull market than 2025 has. And actually where we are today in 2025 is lower than the year started. But, you know, my opinion, I am not a maxi, obviously. Bitcoin is fundamentally different. And, you know, obviously we've been covering for a while, you know, reasons to be bullish on it and why it'll keep rising. I dream of a day in the future where, you know, different altcoin projects aren't affected by what the Fed is doing and whether Bitcoin's up or down. Maybe, you know, the gaming sector where is the game good? Are you getting users? Now, obviously, crypto gaming is dead this cycle, so that's a bad example.
I know, yeah.
But, you know, I think there's reason to be bullish on Ethereum. Tom Lee talks about this all the time. Solana was the best ETF launch out of all ETFs this year. I think there's reason to be bullish. Chainlink, I like. And, you know, certainly different, you know, altcoins, which are getting like kind of similar institutional and Wall Street adoption that we've seen with Bitcoin and Ethereum over the past year. I'm bullish on those for sure. And, you know, crypto is just a technology. I think, you know, the altcoin markets is a lot different in that it's like startups. It's like 99% will fail. You know, more than startups probably, but, you know, certain ones will win. And, you know, we like, exploring and like learning more about them on our channel. And, I think there's, you know, now when everybody's like altcoins are dead is the time to kind of be looking on what's going on. And I think there is reason to be bullish on the blue chip, the quality coins, Ethereum and Solana. They're not going away.
Why do you think altcoin season was underwhelming this cycle?
There's way too many altcoins nowadays, obviously. Back in the day, in 2017, the greatest altcoin season ever, there were just a few altcoins, and you had to, when I started the channel at the very beginning of 2018, when the deep bear market was just beginning, at that time, it was either altcoin daily or ICO daily is what I probably could have named it. If I would have started a year or two prior, maybe bit daily or something. And then, nowadays, who knows? But, so like there was a small altcoins in the past, a small group of them, and a lot of retail interest, the smallest market caps ever back then. Now the market caps are bigger, there's way more, and people are looking for what, truly has value like Bitcoin. So, it's just, it's not going to be like it was. There's been like mini altcoin seasons, like in like certain sectors for the last like couple years, but like the big altcoin season that all these OGs won't shut up about, it's hard to believe that's ever going to come back unless, we do see like a true like bubble in all markets in the US and things go crazy. Yeah,
it's so interesting because throughout the content that I was putting out when I was talking about taking profits and stuff, people were telling me like, you're wrong because we haven't had an altcoin season. So it's really interesting. People felt entitled to an altcoin season, which I thought was a really interesting way of looking at that, because like, the market doesn't owe you anything, I'm not the first one to say, I'm actually the last one to say that this cycle is different, but it is different. And I think we have had an altcoin season, a massive one. Like you said, 2024 was memes going to the billions, right? By market cap. And so we had an altcoin season. It just didn't look how it typically looked. Weren't we all calling it like the great rotation because like the capital kept flowing into different sectors of altcoins, whether it's AI that had its moment, real world assets, memes, and then projects that are actually building, right? Like BNB and things like that. So we have had an altcoin season, I think.
We have, people who say there has been no altcoin seasons. It just wasn't the altcoins that you were looking at.
Right. Yeah, literally.
But yeah, if you had to name your top 2 or 3 altcoins, Leah, what would you say?
Oh, it's such a hard question. It's just so hard, Aaron. Like, I don't know where this market is going. Like, nobody knows, right? I mean, I'm very bullish on ETH. You have to be, because it has first mover advantage, right? And, you mentioned like stable coins, like the Clarity Act, the Genius Act, and all this stuff. Like, that's all happening with Ethereum, right? Because the majority of altcoins, right, are on Ethereum. Sorry, majority of stable coins.
And real world assets are on Ethereum.
Yeah. Exactly. So like it's based on Ethereum. So ETH, I'm very bullish on. Solana, I guess I'm bullish on for next cycle, just because of the ease of use and how simple it is and how cheap it is to use. But I don't know because we have to wait and see what comes next, right? Like it was ICOs, then it was NFTs, DeFi, gaming. This cycle, it's just been memes and a bit of RWAs and a bit of AI. Don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
As soon as the market switches from tightening to easing, from risk off to risk back on, I think there's a lot of tailwinds and catalysts that's going to take those quality assets like Ethereum and Solana and Bitcoin, of course, to the next level, because this is crypto's 1996 moment. There is heavy regulation coming in. And if we have this regulation where it makes it okay to build and this, easing pretty much is the biggest thing, then I think there's a lot of reason why people are going to continue to get off zero when it comes to Bitcoin, increase their position, maybe get a little bit of Ethereum and Solana too, if people like Tom Lee keep providing such great, reasons for it.
So how do you see 2026? You're not that bearish, clearly.
I'm clearly not that bearish. I mean, like now, here's the thing, back in the day or back like a couple months ago, I would have thought that we would be above 150K in 2026. Now, I think we're probably now at the beginning of 2026, I want to see Bitcoin back above 100K. However, let me look at my kind of outlook here. I wrote it down. This is I have like a short term and then like a 5-year outlook as well. For Bitcoin, I think I said my short term, kind of like how low could Bitcoin go? Max was 65K, but I actually think the most likely scenario is in the low 80s, which is where we are kind of now.
Oh,
I think by
wow.
2026, we get to 150K at some point in the year, and then 500K by 2030. But again, you have to look at like, what are these catalysts? And we've been talking about them, but the catalysts for 2026, government is back open. That's certainty, that's jobs, that's spending. The big, beautiful bill will go into a more full effect. That's stimulus, that's economy growth. The market structure bill, the regulations, the ETFs, Leah, continue to expand because, as I'm sure you've heard, the ETF issuers like Bitwise talk about, it's a process when they turn these on, and they're just starting solicited sales at Wall Street, meaning that even though they were turned on the past year and a half, a lot of financial institutions couldn't actually reach out to their clients and say, you should buy it. Well, they're starting solicited sales, calling up people saying, you should buy this. And, with the US, they will be announcing they're buying more, with the Fed being dovish. I would say, again, this is a historic entry point, Leah. And Leah, I'd even go further. This is risky for me to say.
Oh, I'm all ears.
Because
I'm all earphones.
You're saying that the 4-year market or the 4-year cycle is still in effect, and that's, there's a reason you're scaling out. I'd kind of say that the number one biggest mistake I see new people making in crypto is when we see a big correction, 30%, 25%, 30%, where then especially the new people move into stable coins, and they wait for Bitcoin to drop lower. And a lot of times, at the very least, we see a relief rally. Maybe you would say a dead cat bounce, but at the very least, a relief rally. And, the time to move into stable coins in retrospect was maybe when you were scaling out, when Bitcoin was above 100K. Although Bitcoin could go down to 65K, maybe 40K, Leah. I would say that a big mistake I see new people making is moving into stable coins when after a 30% correction has already happened. So I'm bullish.
I hear you, and I get it. But I still believe in the 4-year cycle, and I think it matters. Like, I think it was last August 2024, Ethereum really crashed. It went from like nearly 4K or something down to like 2,400 or something. That at that moment in the cycle, I was like, I'm buying this dip. I'm buying, and I did, and I was buying Ethereum at 23, 24, 2,700. Those are like my 3 major buys, and it's because of where we were in the cycle. Like, we just had the halving. And I personally like to count 18 months to 2 years post-halving for us to go up. And so if we were having this conversation 1 year ago, I would have said, yeah, I'm all for a 30% correction in a bull run. Don't move to stables, like you said. But just because of how long we've been going up for, I just feel like we need a cool-off period. And you know what gets me the most, I think, with crypto? One thing that I've learned, now I've been in crypto for like 7 or 8 years now. And the one thing which is always true is if everyone is expecting one thing, the exact opposite is going to happen. And, it's happened again. Like, everyone was expecting, 200K by the end of this year. Crazy altcoin season because we deserve it, right? Like, we're entitled to new altcoin all-time highs. The exact opposite happened. So again, I'm seeing online, everyone's like, no, Leah, you don't know what we're talking about. 2026 is going to be like really bullish because of X, Y, and Z, and the banks and Trump and all this stuff, and the Fed, and no more Jerome Powell. But if everyone's expecting that, then I think the opposite is going to happen.
Totally agree. That happens all the time. As you said, everybody was expecting these last couple months to be huge for Bitcoin. All the OGs were going, I'll sell in November and December, and then I'll wait a year at least. But and then the opposite happened. I would say that even the people bullish that in Q4 this year, those people, along with the bears, did think that maybe 2026 would be bearish. Certainly people who believed in the 4-year cycle think that. And so maybe the opposite will happen. 2026, maybe. Everybody thought 2025 would be really bullish and 2026 would be bearish.
But I think it was bullish. I thought 25 was bullish. Where am I living? I feel like we're all living on a different planet. The president launched a coin. Like, how does it not get more bullish than that? You know what I mean?
And that was the top, the local top at that time. Basically. But, 2025 has basically been a consolidation period for Bitcoin. We've just been ranging from 125 to 80K. Yeah. Eventually, when we reclaim 100K and then eventually reclaim 125K, that's one hell of a launch pad for Bitcoin to on its road to $1 million. You think Bitcoin eventually hits $1 million or no?
Yeah, not in the next 5 years. I think probably in the next 10 to 15 years.
I'm going 500,000 by 2030. That's what I think.
I'm with you. Like, I'm a bull long term. And hey, listen, like, if I am wrong, if anything that I said was incorrect and 2026 is extremely bullish, I'd be happy because I still have a moon bag. Like, I've only sold like 90% of my crypto. I still have like a good 10%, which in dollar value is actually quite a lot of money. You know, that 5 to 10% that I have. So like, you know, I'm all for it going to the moon. But I think capital preservation is really, really important. You know, I've been buying crypto, right? I've been buying crypto for years. I didn't sell last cycle. So, you know, I've just been riding it up. And I just feel like, you know, I want to change my life and I want a big bag of stables and I want to go back in.
Hell yeah. Going to take a vacation or buy something cool?
I mean, I might. Yeah, Christmas, it would be nice to do something. I live in Florida, so I'm looking outside right now. It's beautiful. You know, it's always stunning. So I feel like I live on a holiday, in a holiday location. But yeah, I might go away somewhere. What about you?
No, I'm not going to go anyplace besides hang out with my family for the holidays. But, you know, I'm not on vacation mode yet. I'm still in grind mode. Maybe next cycle.
That's good. That's good. Well, do you have any final thoughts on the market you want to share? We currently have 11,000 people live with us. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you were entertained and had
smash the like button. Maybe we take a few questions if people.
You want to do that? Let's do it
under the Twitter.
Yeah.
While you're looking, I would just say, because I wrote down some of my Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana predictions. Just, you know, those are common questions. My short-term Ethereum prediction for the bearish case is 2K. I mean, that is on the table. I think that would be pretty bearish. By next year, 2026, I do think Ethereum, if Bitcoin's strong enough and there's no AI bubble, I do think Ethereum gets to 8K. Solana, my short-term bearish prediction is, I don't even know what it's at right now, but you know, probably
Solana's at 131. Let me double check.
Yeah, so it could go down to 100K. That's possible. Although
$100.
125K is like kind of like good support. And then next year, I want to see Solana at 500K and maybe over 1,000 by 2030. Hey, we got some questions.
I'm just tooting my own horn right now.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we've got Aaron here. Altcoin Daily are the best. Let's ask Aaron some questions. Okay, so I'm going to look through. Feel free to send us your questions and I'll throw them up on the screen. Somebody wrote a question. It was, what happens if we go into a recession next year? What's your take?
I mean, that would not be good. That is like the bear case. If the, you know, crypto and traditional markets are becoming more and more intertwined. And, you know, if there is the AI bubble, if there is a recession, that would not be good for crypto. So yeah, that would be the bear case.
Aaron, how much lower does BTC go from here before it starts going to 150K next year? Well, that's even if it does go to 150K next year, William Hart. I mean, that's very bullish.
I think that, you know, if you're looking to buy, I think these are, you know, after a 30% dip is a great time to start buying. I think it could go down to like 65K is my bear case. Last cycle's all-time highs. Hopefully now become support. I think anything under 165K, last cycle's buyers would certainly like step in and, you know, understand that 45% correction is great. I don't think it's likely Bitcoin goes to 65K. I think it's more likely that Bitcoin is bottoming out this week and maybe next week, and going into the end of year, we'll be grinding back towards 100K.
You are very bullish. I'm going to put this on the screen because I want to.
Even if we grind towards 100K, you know, maybe 2026 is still bearish. Who knows?
Yeah, it's true. I think we could bounce from here and then make lower lows. I want to address this one. She was posting October. Now she's acting like she was right. So actually, yes, I did. And I was correct. Bitcoin hit all-time highs in October. Early October, Bitcoin went to $126,000. So I was completely correct. In the same video that I said October, I also said, but this is the most dangerous part of the cycle because it's going to be quick and you have to take profits now, because after we top, we then come down. So I was exactly correct. October happened early. The first 2 weeks of October, we were at all-time highs and then we came down, like I said. So
That's true. And October was just a meme. People just tweeted it, and you don't even necessarily know where they stand because it's just what people were saying. Hey, by the way, guys, on Altcoin Daily, we're going for 2 million subscribers or followers on Twitter. So if you have yet to follow us on Twitter, shameless plug, please give us that follow. You're getting in under 2 million. That's early.
For sure. Go follow Altcoin Daily. Absolutely. All right, I'm going to take. Oh, look. This guy said, thanks for explaining that I was wrong. This is great. This is dialogue. This is conversation. What do we think about the 4-year cycles? This will be our last one.
That's what we've been talking about, friend.
Where have you been? Did you just tune in now? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't see Bitcoin correcting like 70, 80% because it really hasn't expanded that much. I think, 2022 began the biggest tightening period that we've seen in recent history. I think we're going into a period of expansion and quantitative easing. So listen, I don't see how we go down like 70, 80% like we've seen in other cycles. And I think there's a lot of tailwinds to be bullish. So I've drank the Kool-Aid. It's possible. Who knows?
Yeah. 4-year cycles. Look, do you know what? I believe in the 4-year cycles until I have a reason not to believe in them. Right now, we are literally following history. Everything has been spot on. Even the bullishness of Q4. Yeah, okay, September and October were a little intertwined. But whatever, everything's to a T. Okay, last one, because this one's for you, Aaron, and like your Altcoin Daily. So I have to ask you this one. Aaron, what are your favorite alts?
Yeah, we certainly cover the whole market on Altcoin Daily. Whatever is interesting, we'll do, high cap videos, we'll do lower cap videos, and people like to kind of just get a greater sense of the market by following us and watching all of it. My Bitcoin's always been the strongest coin in my portfolio. And since it's been so strong lately, it's certainly still the majority of my portfolio. Ethereum, my second biggest holding. After that, I look for the ones that are getting similar adoption to, Wall Street and institutional adoption like Bitcoin and ETH have been getting. So that's Solana, that's Chainlink. But other than that, I don't, when it comes to just talking about different altcoins, I don't discriminate. I'll talk about anything and kind of try and explore, does it have any value? Is there any reason to be bullish? And if so, what are these reasons? So, I like the high caps, Leia. It's
small.
Ethereum, Solana. Hey, and I would like to encourage anybody from my audience to go subscribe to Leia as well.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Aaron, thank you so much for coming on. This was so much fun. I'm so glad we did this. This was, by the way, guys, this was last minute. I just texted Aaron yesterday. I was like, hey, do you want to go live with me tomorrow? So I appreciate you, being game for this.
Perfect time to go live. We had a great interview on my channel last year. We'll have to have you on again. Yeah, anybody from our audience, go follow Leia. Always great to see you posting fun stuff or informative stuff about crypto in the space, and keep going, guys.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And guys, please don't forget, go follow Aaron Austin. Great value. So Aaron, thanks for coming on, and thank you everyone for tuning in, and we will see you on my next live stream. Bye for now.